Hello, everybody. Who is your hero? Do you have heroes that come from mainstream, or are they someone within your life? We're going to be talking about heroes today. And what is a hero anyway? Well, this is Cindy Kabika, and this is the Soul View. And of course, joining me is also Lorelei Robbins, Shivani Ganell, and Ferris Poole is here, everybody's favorite comedian. It's so great to have you guys here tonight to catch up with you and to talk about this. And, you know, the reason that this topic came up, because we take, you know, on the Soul View, we take what's ever in the news and we look at it from a soul perspective. And John McCain just transitioned and he is now whole. And he is a hero to many, many people. And that really brought up the topic of what is a hero? How do they influence us in our lives? So before we talk about that, let's go ahead and get the cosmic weather, Lorelei.
Okay, well, tonight we're still in the full moon. I feel like the weather girl. I should be holding up the clouds or the sun or something.
The sign.
The sign is right, 63 degrees. So we're still in a full moon until tomorrow. And so the next 3 days are what's called the disseminating moon. And that's the phase right after the full moon where you can really feel like full of whatever's going on in your life, and you feel compelled to share, and you have it's a great walking your talk a phase of the moon. I always call it the dog and pony show. It's a great time for an interview. It's a great time for a presentation, because we want to demonstrate what we know. And so the beauty of a disseminating moon is the connections that occur, the people that you choose to share with, who choose to share with you. So the interactions over the next few days can be really, really lively. And of course, Mars, the planet of what drives us, of what what impassions us and propels us, resumed direct motion on Monday after a 2-month tailspin. But I just want to say, so here's the planet of forward, of momentum moving forward, but it takes it a while to get back to where it was. So my point is, don't do too much beating up on yourself if you go, okay, now everything's got to happen all in one day, right? I got to get everything moving that seemed to be stalled, or, now I got to have all the answers, or I should know what I'm passionate about. And that's not true. Just know, much like, a car that's emerging from the shop and has just been through the 30,000 mile or whatever mileage and points and plugs and oil change, you're ready now to make the new journey, whatever that is. And so we'll say more about the stuff next week. But so for now, just know the next 3 days can be really key to as to who you're drawn to share what's going on in your life, and how they're drawn to share with you what's going on with them. And this commonality of meeting of the minds, it's really pretty beautiful.
Well, I have to say that I have had this forward momentum feeling, I feel the action. And, I tend to, when I feel that, I forget I don't have to change the world in one day.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. Exactly. It's like the action can be paced over some time.
Right.
Right.
That's it. That's exactly right. And I tend to overdo it. Love to know how everybody else reacts during this time. Do you also tend to just take the bull by the horns and think that you can just do everything all at once? So just put your comments over in the side. And also, if you're on Facebook, go ahead and write your comments below. We'd love to hear from you. Also, say hi to each other, interact with each other while we are talking. Here, you can talk amongst yourself as well, make comments, and also let us know who your heroes are. We really would love to know. And any hero stories that you have as well.
And Lorelei?
Yeah.
Yes.
Whoops.
Go ahead, Ferris.
I thought I was muted there for a second. I want to thank you, because day before yesterday, I washed my car. Woo-hoo! And I thought I had lost my mind. So now I know why I wanted to wash the car.
Yeah.
I was worried about myself there for a minute.
There you go. And the sun's in Virgo, so if one is going to wash anything or clean anything, the Virgo sun certainly cooperates with that as well.
Okay, good.
Well, Shivani,
I've been
somebody write in as well. We had so many more animal stories come in, but I thought this one was beautiful. So,
yep, sure. So that's from the last show.
mm-hmm.
A lot of people might not think horses can be loving, but they are.
Mm-hmm.
We have a quarter horse, Quick Morning Dash, aka Teddy, who was abused and they were going to put him down. My niece is a barrel racer and decided to rescue Teddy. The horse has gone on to be a winner and he holds records at several venues. I truly believe that he knows he was saved because he runs with his heart.
Oh, that's beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
I love that. Thank you for sharing that. Well, you know, the subject again of heroes is really on our minds. And I think what brought it out even more was this feud that was happening between the President of the United States and John McCain. Well, he wasn't really arguing, but the president was. But that really made us stop and think, you know, heroes come in all shapes and sizes, and there are different ways of looking at heroes. There are people that we would never suspect would be somebody's hero, you know, but they have a reason. Everybody has a reason for their heroes. Mm-hmm. And we were talking about this beforehand, and before we talk about our heroes, or should we do that first? Let's go ahead and do that. And then I want to talk about what being a hero means. So, Shivani, why don't you go ahead and start? Well, I know that let's save you because you're the controversy here, probably.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so we will start. We will start with Lorelei.
Well, you know, for me, the word hero goes far beyond what the typical might be. You know, this person who has appeared to lead an exemplary life of service or whatever, you know, of the good stuff, the stuff that we, you know, we would claim more easily. I think hero on some level, I mean, again, it's expansive for me, is anyone who has the courage to live this life consciously is a hero to some degree, and to model that for others and to be in that. So, you know, when I thought about it so I'm thinking in terms of like famous people, you know, it's probably somebody like Jesus, you know, it's not necessarily when I think of a political figure or an actor, none of that really comes up for me. Because as I said, I see more I've seen hero in ordinary, everyday people who make choices to live life and to be more conscious in whatever their journey is. And to me, on some level, that person is as much a model as somebody like a John McCain who, you know, attention is drawn to. And again, we can talk more about him afterwards, but certainly someone who's lived his life in service for sure. Mm-hmm. So as I said, I may not be the best person to start with because I don't necessarily say, oh yeah, Mother Teresa's my hero, or, you know, it's really, I think it's an energy more for me than it is a person. Mm-hmm. You know, I think it's an energy that I feel from certain people that to me is heroic. And we were talking earlier, and Shivani, you might want to address that later, about the hero's journey. You know, it's like we're all on that journey. So that's kind of really what comes up for me when I think about when somebody says the word hero. And then, of course, the song from Mariah Carey comes up, hero. And hero is an Aries thing, and Mariah Carey's an Aries. So I'm complete.
Yeah. Well, Ferris, you were talking about a couple of heroes in your life earlier today. So why don't you go ahead and share your heroes and why?
Well, one thing I didn't mention earlier is, you know, usually when we hear the word hero, we think of the person that risked their life to save everyone else. And having been in a war, I did know a couple of people like that. But my number one hero in my life was a poor black man who lived on our farm. Basically, for his labor, he had the house that he lived in. he and his wife, a tiny house, and a garden area, and one small crop that was his, Uncle Poke. He never had a bad word to say about anyone. He always had something good to say about somebody. And when I say never, I mean never. The man had very little money. He walked to the store, the local store, which was 1.5 miles away, every day of his life that I knew of. He was the best human being I have ever known. And he is my number one hero. Mm. And I didn't think I was going to get emotional when we started talking about this, but as I mentioned before we started, when you say hero, the word that comes to mind to me is example. Mm-hmm. And Uncle Poke set an example for me that I haven't been able to attain, but what's the word I'm looking for?
Inspiration? Is he?
Yes, not just inspiration. He makes me want to
be a better man.
Yes, thank you.
Influence, and that's what I said before. Is people that influence me. And when I was thinking about the heroes in my life, examples or people that have influenced me, and it's interesting, the two people that came to my mind first, Helen Keller. And the reason is because of her awakening to knowledge, how she came and she wanted more and more and more. And one of my biggest influences from my life, I talked about this during our workshop, Lorelei, where I talked about Mrs. Sosweedle. And she was my 3rd grade teacher. And she took the time to look at somebody that she knew was very creative. Me, I was a very creative kid. I learned differently. And she approached my learning in my style. And in 15 minutes, she taught me how to tell time. I could not get how to tell time until she walked me around the school. And when she walked me around, she said, if we're on this side of the school, just think of it as 12 o'clock, and she walked me over to another teacher's class. This would be 1/4 back to the principal's office. This is 1/2 the hour, and back to our classroom, which would be 1/4 And after that, I understood what she meant. It changed the way that I learn. And I was able to take that, and the teachers that were very left-brain teachers, you do it, there's an order to everything, everything's A, B, C, 1, 2, 3. I didn't learn that way, but because she showed me in a different way, I was able to take what the other teachers did and put it to her example. And I see Helen Keller, I guess, in the same way. Both of them opened me up to a greater understanding. So for me, they influenced me. So when I think of hero, those are two people that influenced me greatly. And then, of course, Helen Keller just went on to be this beautiful writer and activist and, powerful woman. Still, she influenced me. So now we come to
okay. Yep, I'm doing it.
Shimani, give it to us.
So as I was contemplating heroes, heroines, sheroes, we are all, I want to make that distinction too. Shero, well, I know somebody, some expert talks about sheroes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I had a look at the definition of hero, and that is just one definition, and that is basically somebody is doing, usually in the face of danger, something extraordinary that most of us are wondering whether we could pull it off.
Right.
Now, yeah. And in that definition, there are many heroes or sheroes. What sits uncomfortable for me is that in some shape or form, we're putting these people quite often on a pedestal, and we are comparing ourselves. And so because it's like, well, you are better than me and I could never do this. And I think it's not a great idea to compare to start with and put somebody on a pedestal, because I think we all have our own heroine or hero within. Lorelei talked about the hero's journey. So for me, basically, if I use the word, like I wouldn't even use the word hero personally, but if I use the word hero, it's really, like for me, it's anybody who leads from the heart, anybody who can stand up for truth,
right?
Anybody that can work for the greater good, anybody, like for me, even, not even, especially single moms that maybe have kids with a mental illness. I mean, they are heroines in my eyes, because I know I would have cracked up under the pressure.
Totally.
Yeah.
Totally.
Okay.
I get that, because I had a child that had a mental illness, and it was not an easy journey.
Can I throw some controversy in here?
Sure.
Please.
I think we have to remember that who we choose as our heroes is often dictated by our belief systems. The reason that I had some of the people in the email as examples of heroes, like Stalin or a suicide bomber, is because to some people,
that's true,
they are heroes.
Yeah. Yep. I agree.
An example, and exactly what made me want to bring it up, is when you said they want to uphold the good, and
not necessarily good.
Well, it depends on your definition of good.
Yeah.
I hate to say it, but the people who flew the planes into the Twin Towers, to some people, they were heroes. And please don't write and accuse me of defending those folks.
Yeah, right.
Because that's not what Ferris is doing. He's just bringing up a point here, everybody.
Yeah.
He's just bringing up a point. And that's true. So, the people that we choose, really, they're a reflection of us. That's the way that I feel, is they are a reflection of us.
Or of who we want to be.
Right. And for me, my heroes, my grandpa, Kabika, another hero in my life, because he was a wise man. Everyone that I think of as a hero, it was a reflection of who I came here to be. And they awakened that in me. And so I saw in them what I knew was inside me somewhere, and they allowed me to bring that forth. I think about in the book of Thomas, that says, one of the passages says, if you bring forth
I love that
what you bring forth will save you. If you do not bring forth what's in you, what you do not bring forth will destroy you.
Yes.
And the examples, the heroes for me, brought forth who I am.
You know what? I was going to say to Shivani, one of the characteristics of a hero is that they rise above. And that's exactly what you're talking about, Cindy.
Yeah.
And I think what we can then do on the soul level is, okay, so this example of the hero's action is, very exaggerated, very big. And so my question for myself would be, okay, if I admire this person, what is the smallest version that I can do in daily life?
Yeah.
And to continue with what Ferris said, what came to mind, I don't know if you are aware of this guy called Julius Assange.
Yes.
And so for me personally, he's a hero because he stands up for what he believes. He, brings out the truth for everybody to see. And here he is, or has been holed up at the embassy from X number of years just for his safety or for not being thrown in prison. And other governments don't see him as a hero at all, right? So
that's a whole nother topic.
Well, you know what?
But it illustrates what Ferris says. Like depending on your belief system and how you view the world, some people would say he's a hero. Some people would say no.
I'm glad you brought that up because for me, Julian Assange is both. He's a hero in that he took steps that he knew was gonna put him outside the law, and he's also, to me, a criminal. And
how so?
Confusing.
Okay, tell me about the criminal bit. I'm intrigued.
He stole classified information.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
yeah, my bad arsery ignores that. I get it. Yeah.
Well, let's go ahead and read the comments that we have here. I think that we've got a comment over to the side. I want to go ahead and...
Yeah, we have Satprim. Hello, everyone. I'm very glad to be here tonight. I told someone today she was my courage hero because of how she showed up, how she stepped out and shared her vulnerability with a group of us. Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
That's a hero, for sure.
Yeah.
I said, Fran.
And, a hero can also be an animal. And
totally.
We don't think about that. Heroes, just the way I look at my kitties, and to me, they're little heroes because they don't question things. They just know what they know, and they trust their instincts fully and wholly. And so I look at them, and they're an example, a reminder for me to trust my instincts on things. Oh. And that's not always easy. And again, I don't think of putting, for me, I don't think of putting Helen Keller, my grandfather, my dad, Mrs. Sosweedel on a pedestal. But every day I just appreciate, how they were able to reflect what was in me and bring it out. If that makes sense.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, and my kitties, that's who I want to be. I want to trust my instincts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we are often prone to hero worship.
Many people are. And it's interesting when you mentioned that earlier, Shivani, that you really didn't believe in heroes. I was thinking about how many people really worship, stars. And, people in the public life, that's never happened to me. I've never worshiped an actor or anything. As an actor, I think it's just a job that's very visible. Mm-hmm. And can I appreciate their work ethics? That's where my mind would go more than, oh, they're in the limelight, therefore they're my hero. That's not. It's, one of the names that you brought up, Ferris, was Michael Jordan. It's the person he be in this world that I appreciate, not the fact that he was a great athlete. I don't know anything, never saw a game he was in, but I have seen him in interviews. I've seen the kind of man that he wants to be. And thrives, really tries to be always, and that makes him a hero for me. Not what he did on a ball court.
And I love that because we all have our own divine gifts and our own divine self-expression, right? So And the hero part then comes in with, how can I be the best version and, say, in Michael Jordan's case, influence my fans and the world? He's demonstrating, publicly.
Right. He took his fame one step further and said, okay, I've got this public platform. Let me use it for greater good. And I just really appreciate that. And again, not to put him on a pedestal, but just, if I was in that situation, I'd want to do the same thing. He's an example, as Farah said earlier.
Yeah. And I think that's it. For me, that's the key. Whatever we admire, where is that within us? And how can I bring that forth?
Yeah.
Gosh, all four of us are heroes. And, I'm looking at the four of us and I'm thinking, each one of us are heroes. And I know very deeply what makes each of us heroes. And it's cool. It's really cool. I think, Lorelei, you live your truth every single day. And you've been hard on yourself in the past. You have been through multiple marriages and you have beat yourself up over all of that. And you know what? You have loved every bit of who you are in the entire journey that you've been on, which has brought you to where you are today. And that is fully living in your truth.
Thank you, Cindy. I will receive that.
I agree.
Beautiful.
Yeah. And I love that about you. And, when you talk about what you love in your life, astrology, that's who you are. And you say, oh, it comes so easy to me because it's what I love. And I'm just going to forget the rest of it. I don't care what anybody else thinks. I don't need to know about that stuff because that's not who I am. Shivani, today, stepping up and saying, hero means something different for me. I really don't even like that word. For me, it's really looking for that hero within. That's what makes you a hero to me, is speaking your truth as well, being honest and stepping up, and embracing your Capricorn.
Thank you. Thank you.
It's who you are. And Ferris, I have to say, I've known you, we have been in business together, or will have been in business together. Let me see, for 26 years, November.
Wow.
Beginning of November, 26 years. We've known each other 28 years.
Wow.
And, you have been an example for me, a hero for me, again and again and again, on so many levels I can't even tell everybody. You were there for me at a time when I just didn't even want to live anymore because the struggle with my daughter's drug addiction was more than I could bear. And you helped me to bear it. And when I wanted to rescue my grandchildren, and you pulled me back and said, wait until the time is right. And you spoke reason to my insanity. Again and again and again. You took me to court, to so many, I just can't even tell you how many times you've been there for me. And also in business. We've stood together side by side through this 26 years. That's heroes. You're all heroes. And for myself, for making it through some pretty heavy shit.
No kidding.
I am a hero.
Absolutely.
What your physical body
you
has
have truly done that. And maintained pretty much your sanity.
Almost. What were you going to say, Lorelei?
You brought something up. Another true hero of mine, and I have to bring this up, is my son. And as you know, growing up with all that he went through, he had every opportunity to become a delinquent, to go in another direction. And he is one of the most grounded. He is the best father I know. And when I grow up, I want to be like him.
So when are you going to grow up, Ferris?
Well, That may be next lifetime.
Okay. So
All right, we have Marsha who just wrote.
okay.
Heroes are an inspiration to me, but not an example, except in the example of being themselves. Everyone brings out what is in me, not just good or great people. I don't try to do a small part of what they do. I only concern myself with being me and what other people bring out in me of me. Yep, I agree. What heroes give me is a publicly known or known to me better something in the world, and a great joy in knowing these people, places, things exist. Yeah, of course, it's always, I think if you are attracted to a particular person that you will go, wow, that is part of you or part of your soul going, look, you're admiring this particular quality. Otherwise, you wouldn't be drawn to it.
Right.
Yeah.
Totally.
So it's always more about becoming me more.
Right.
And they
Yeah.
allow us to do that. And again, I think of them as an example of this is how you can do it, or you can find your own way.
Mm-hmm.
And another great teacher, and I talked about Dottie Walters earlier, Ferris. I was telling you about her, and she was a hero to me because, by the way, she was a coach for many years for professional speakers. And I took one of her workshops. And this isn't exactly the way she said it, but this is the way that I heard it. She said, well, Cindy, why don't you come back and take this class again when you're willing to listen to what I have to say?
Oops.
And she was, because I was at that point where I was a know-it-all. I immediately became successful as a speaker very fast. And when that happens, you can become very full of yourself. And she awakened me just like that with that statement. I went home and I dwelled on it for a long time, even posted it, because I wanted to remember to keep my mind wide open. She was showing me a way that was different than what I thought. And you know what? She was right and I was wrong. And in a loving way, she didn't say it. It wasn't harsh. And I never took it that way, but she opened up my mind. And that's why I love to keep a picture of Curious George around. Ask questions, be curious. She taught me that because, sometimes we just get full of ourselves. And it's a reminder. So another hero, another person to do with education for me, opening up the mind, learning, teaching.
But wouldn't this be more a mentor than a hero?
Why not both?
Yeah. I mean, she was both because she stood by me for many, many years. It wasn't just that one time. She loved me enough to tell me what I needed to hear, and she continued to work with me. And so, and she's been that for many. She's been a mentor for many. She's been a teacher hero for many people. And I love that about her. She changed many, many lives.
Well, and heroes usually do, no matter what level they're playing at.
Yeah.
Like that man that you talked about on the farm, Ferris, that man would change lives. I mean,
Yeah, and I'm sure he was an example to a lot more people than just me.
That's what I mean. Yeah.
And it reminds me of the bus driver that comes every morning. I get to see the bus driver now, thanks to my puppy, because he hears the bus coming and he has to go outside to see the kids. So we do that every morning now. And I've had the opportunity to see this wonderful bus driver who is just always full of joy and laughing and welcomes the kids on. And he takes the time to stop. And every day pickup trooper and wave his little paw at him, and he just laughs and laughs, and he just starts my day in just a great way. What a wonderful influence he is for all those little kids.
You know, it's funny you should mention that, because one of my other big heroes was Mr. Minix, our bus driver.
Oh, wow.
Oh.
Because he was there every day. He was there on time. He was willing to put me off the bus when I needed to be.
Like Donnie did for me.
Even if it was 10 miles from home, and it happened more than once. But he did it lovingly. And don't write in about the bus driver putting me off the bus, because this was a different time.
Your little rebellious Aquarius self he put off the bus?
No, I mean, it was a different world. It wasn't dangerous to put me off the bus.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. For sure.
Well, Lorelei, I would like you to, I really want to talk about John McCain. And for me, as a hero, many people look at him as a hero, and especially people in the military that look at him. Again, I don't think that they put him on a pedestal, but they look at what he represented for us in our country. And for that, I do believe he is a hero. And the sacrifice that he made for so many people. So I would like to know, from an astrological point of view, a little bit more about him.
Yeah, and what's interesting about that is because I get schooled really quickly. I didn't really, I knew some of the highlights of his life, but just reading and reading about this life of service and this life of self-sacrifice. And when we talk about service and self-sacrifice, we talk about Virgo Pisces. That's the continuum of that energy. Well, John McCain had 3 planets in Virgo and and Pisces rising, and Saturn, his planet of Dharma, his sacred responsibility, in Pisces. So the fact that he was such an example of sacrificing himself literally, and not returning home and leaving others it's certainly exemplary. That would be that energy, and yet still a childlikeness about all of it too. He also had some Leo energy. That wasn't his essence. His essence is Virgo, and Virgo is about being dedicated and being devoted. Virgo is your humble servant. Virgo is the civic response. That is very Virgo. So certainly in terms of living a life of service, but then coming in with all the Pisces energy too, to be able to actually, be such an example of, a life of sacred, selfless service.
Do you think that's also where his character, because I always think of him as such a strong character, whether you believe in his politics or whatever, it didn't matter. I just thought he was a great character too.
Well, yeah.
In other words, he was out there a little bit, and he wasn't afraid to be that.
Yeah. Well, that's what I mean. He had, I think it was Venus in Leo. So a Leo.
That's that playful. Okay.
But that would have been the playful and being out there, but yet his essence is not Leo, or was not Leo. Okay. And, in other words, his essence is Virgo. So people that are Virgo by nature and have Leo qualities, that's a beautiful energy, because they're loving and playful, but you feel their sense of dedication and devotion, which is not a Leo construct at all. So, again, with what I read of kind of the highlights of his life, which I read before I looked at the chart, because I didn't want to influence myself. I wanted to just kind of read about his life and sort of go, gee, wow, lots of service here. And then go and see all that Virgo and all that Pisces. And that certainly made sense in terms of how he showed up, for so many as an example of exemplary service. Both on a spiritual and on a mundane human level.
Mm-hmm. Well, I just want to say to his family and those close to him, I just want to say our love and prayers are going out to you. And what a great man! And we really appreciate what he's done. being of such service to many. And again, there goes back to, influencing us, being an example. How can we be of service to others?
Yeah.
In our own way, in our own uniqueness. Not in
But for me, the heroic part, I mean, I don't know that much about him, but in the Australian news, it was brought how many years he was in imprisonment in Vietnam.
Mm-hmm.
And to have that experience, that trauma, and overcome that and be the man he was, for me, that is heroic. That bit.
Totally.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, and many people don't realize he didn't have complete use of one of his arms because of that torture.
Yeah.
And, and still, he was still out there willing to do so much for so many.
Mm.
So I loved it. But any more comments? Everybody, any more hero comments? And let me look on Facebook, see if anybody has written any comments. I don't see any comments here. For those of you who are listening.
Bring out in me of me.
Whoops.
Yep, I agree.
There it goes. Okay, here we go. Let me see here. Love the laughter and gratitude. Thank you. Talk about heroes, not just ourselves. Somebody says. We were talking about other heroes. Let's see here. Speaking of Michael Jordan, I am very grateful that he has followed through with his plan to have a tribe. I can only see half of this. Let me see. And then it cuts off. Through his plan to have a restaurant at my tribe. It's Cowlitz Indian tribe in Washington State. So that's cool. I didn't know that about him. Okay, any other comments here? Hi, Cindy. Hi, Mary. Hi, Nancy. Rachel. And any other comments, anyone? Go ahead, and if there's someone that's a hero, let's go ahead and talk about them. We're not seeing any comments, but go ahead. Even if we don't get your comments today, go ahead and put them on our Facebook page, and which is on Facebook, Energized Living Today. And go ahead and put your comments in there, or on our YouTube channel and put your comments in. We will get them and we will share them next week. This has just been I think, a really good exploration into what a hero really is. And again, we want to look at not only the heroes that we look at out there, someone else. We want to look at the hero within. Yeah.
And also write to us what heroic actions you've taken. Even if that, hey, I got out of bed today. It was really, really hard. No, I mean,
yeah,
exactly.
Yeah. So share your inner hero with us, or Shiro. I like Shiro.
Shiro, that's cute. I like that. Any other comments, Lorelei?
Just to just speak your truth, shout it from the rooftops over the next 3 or 4 days. Basically, it's a beautiful time to share what you know and to take things you're learning and be sharing them as you're learning them. The disseminating moon is a really it's a phase of disseminating. So again, it can be very rich with interactions.
Beautiful. Any final thoughts, Ferris?
As Shivani said, we can all be heroes.
Yeah, but we all are.
But one hero we didn't mention, and of course now, one hero we didn't mention, the sandwich. The hero sandwich.
Oh,
come on, guys.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Oh, that's fine. It's an American thing.
Lorelei, I'm supposed to do the dumb joke.
I'm surprised that you didn't say it.
So everybody must be hungry. Okay. Oh, Mary, thank you so much. You four are my heroes for being so loving and caring. XOXOXO.
Oh, thank you,
Cool.
Mary.
Thank you so very much. And let's end on a high note.
Yeah, let's get out of here quick.
So please, we want to hear about your heroes, people that were examples for you, people that inspired you. So put your comments in and tell us about your inner heroes as well. You know, be your own hero. Until next time, everyone, we love you so much. Thank you for being a part of the Soul View, and namaste.
Namaste.
Namaste, and I send you all light.